Simagic has been on the radar of many people, from the entry-level buyer all the way up to the high-end sim racing buyer. It seems like they're nailing quite a few things correctly in sim racing, especially here in 2025. So today I want to break down a 2025 sim racing buyer's guide as of February 19th, 2025. We're gonna be talking about the Simagic ecosystem, different products within that ecosystem, and hopefully at the end of this video, you can decide what type of Simagic gear you want to purchase. We're gonna be talking about everything: low-end products, high-end products, and even products that haven't been released yet. So let's get right into it. So first things first, let's talk about the products that aren't released yet. Some of these products are confirmed and some of them are rumors or concepts. So first things first, I wanna talk about the Simagic Active Pedal. There's not a ton of info on this product. It looks cool, has a very interesting looking pivot point, and will hopefully be able to rival that of the Simagic Active Pedal. If you don't know what the Active Pedal is, let me explain real quick. Back in 2023, a different sim racing company called Simagic came out with what they call the Active Pedal. It's essentially the first sim racing pedal to give force feedback. So instead of it being a load cell or a hydraulic mechanism, it is a screw mechanism where when you push into the pedal, it could give different sorts of feedback. And companies alongside Simagic are taking that challenge by the horns, and one of them being Simagic. It was released in 2024 that they were working on something, they had a working concept, but nothing has been released to the public yet. So that's gonna be an interesting little piece of kit right there. Next up is the Simagic Alpha Evo wheelbases. These are essentially gonna line up directly under the Alpha wheelbases. So there are three wheelbases: the Alpha Mini, the Alpha, and the Alpha U, coming in at 10, 15, and 23 Newton meters, and the Alpha Evos are gonna be right below that, so at 9, 12, and 18 Newton meters. Again, not a ton of information onto that, but it does seem that Simagic is going more into the budget consumer realm, kind of rivaling that of Moza Racing, while also keeping their notable high-end products, the Alpha wheelbases, etc. And the last thing on the not released list is their Up Plus Dash. And the last thing on their unreleased list is the Up Plus Dash and also hub. It looks like any other Simagic wheel hub, but you could have different add-ons such as paddles, and then you can have a magnetic dash, I guess, attached to the hub. Really interesting, really cool piece of kit. Again, not much info on that, all speculation. So with that, got all the unreleased stuff out the way. Now let's talk about some of the products that are actually out and that you could buy right now. First things first, let's talk about the pedal set, which is the Simagic P500 pedals. This is supposed to rival that of the Moza Racing SRPs and also the Fanatec CSL pedal. These have just come out. There are a couple great reviews on them. I'll link those down below. And it seems like these are pretty solid pedals. I tried them out at PRI, and honestly, for the money, that being 200 bucks and 260 with the clutch, it's pretty good. It's got a light load cell brake, and the pedals don't feel super light. They actually have some feel to them. So honestly, for the budget realm of pedals, it's honestly not too terrible of an option. Again, it's just not everybody has them, such as, you know, the Fanatec CSL pedals or the SRP pedals from Moza. So there's not a ton of information on them. Next up is the Simagic Alpha Mini wheelbase. So this is the current Simagic entry-level wheelbase, coming in at 10 Newton meters and a price tag at the time being $499. I've felt multiple Alpha Minis, whether it be at events or people's houses. The Alpha Mini is tried and true. It's the perfect entry level into the DD world, especially if your budget is around that $500 for a wheelbase. The great thing about the Simagic Alpha lineup is they all use very similar internal components. So the way wheelbases read data is called an encoder. And between all the Alpha wheelbases, all of them use the same encoder, which I want to say is an 18-bit encoder, 262,144 points per resolution, I want to say. PPR is the acronym. Anyways, that same encoder is used across the board for all of the wheelbases, which is super unique because the majority of companies will use a lower bit encoder for their lower end products, such as that of Moza Racing. So that is the most important, I guess, component internally. And the main way that, you know, Simagic, I guess, bottlenecks the wheelbases to have less Newton meters is through the software, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Alpha Mini, tested them multiple times. We're gonna have a review on that piece of kit very soon. Honestly, fantastic. Can't say much more than that. Next up is the Simagic TB1. You can click this video right here to check out that review. This is their entry-level handbrake, coming in at $169. Little pricier than say like a eBay or Amazon handbrake, but it does have a load cell mechanism, so it's not like an on and off switch. It's like a slider switch. So when you pull on it, you can have different adjustments of how much, force you want from that handbrake. So could be a good option for you if you're really into drifting or rally racing. Next up is the Simagic Q1S. This is their entry-level sequential shifter. Mechanically, we'll talk about this later, but it is the same internal mechanism as their higher-end Simagic Q1 sequential shifter, but it doesn't have all the fancy buttons and screen on top of it. Makes all the right noises, and it even has a reverse lockout, which is pretty cool. Next up, we'll move into the wheels. I will say right now, Simagic has a quick release called the QR50 or QR70, the numbers designating how many millimeters that the QR is, so 50 mil or 70 mil. And that could fit on any of the wheelbases, and you can put aftermarket wheels on it, such as an NRG wheel or a Sparco or Momo wheel, anything that you'd want. So just want to put that out there before we hop into the wheels. So the first thing we want to talk about is the Simagic GTS wheel. This is the entry-level round wheel that Simagic has. It comes in Alcantara or leather. It has buttons, dials, and paddles, everything that you'd want out of a wheel without being an arm and a leg. This wheel only works within the Simagic ecosystem. It's priced very well at $289, but just to let you know, it is only within the Simagic ecosystem that you could use this wheel. And that goes for every steering wheel within the Simagic ecosystem except this next one, which is probably my favorite wheel within the ecosystem, the Simagic GT Neo. So this wheel is the budget formula wheel within the Simagic ecosystem. Comes in again at $289, and with the Simagic MagLink technology, you could use it on different wheelbases. It's got a nice forged carbon finish. It's not forged carbon fiber, I'll be honest and say that. It's just a finish, but it's perfect for anyone wanting to get into, say, like GT3, GT4, Formula Racing, LMP Racing. Great wheel, and you could use it outside the Simagic ecosystem, which is a big plus. I really wish Simagic would allow more wheels within their ecosystem to be used with other wheelbases. But hopefully they make that upgrade with the MagLink technology in the future, and then more wheels can be used on other wheelbases. And our next wheel, our final wheel, is the Simagic GT Neo X Hub. This, just on the market, has a very similar finish to the GT Neo wheel. You know, that forged carbon looking finish. So what the hub is of course comes with the quick release, but you also have buttons and dials, and you can have an optional set of paddles or even 4 paddles. So say you want to run a D wheel, but budget is on your mind, the Neo X will be perfect for you in that case. And again, there are the options whether you want paddle shifters or not. Say you like to drift and you just want, the added buttons to do whatever, say you're back to pits or to adjust boost on the fly, you should get the Neo X Hub. But if you want to race and you want the paddles, it's only a few bucks more, nothing too much, and then you could race. It's Simagic's answer to having a budget hub where you're not spending an arm and a leg to get a custom wheel onto your Simagic base with the convenience of having the buttons and the shifters and all that good stuff. And last but not least, we have the P330. Now this is a 330 millimeter wheel. It comes with no buttons or paddles. You essentially just use this wheel, and then the quick release, you can mount it onto any of the Simagic wheelbases. It's a great cheap alternative if you don't want to buy a Simagic wheel with like your Alpha Mini or anything like that. You can get a P330 in either a round D, or I guess the C shape, if you will, like the top cut off. So perfect option for anyone looking at that. And that does it for the budget section. So with that, let's move on into the mid-range section of the Simagic ecosystem. So now we move to the mid-tier section of the Simagic ecosystem, and we're gonna start off with pedals again, the P1000 pedals. These pedals range from, at this current moment, the pedals range from $469 to $709. The pedals use a spring mechanism on both the throttle and the clutch, and then out of the box, the brake pedal the brake pedal uses elastomers, rubber elastomers, that is. So you use 8 pieces of rubber to stack up, and you can have different feelings of the pedal, whether it be super stiff or kind of like an aggressive street pad, so a lot lighter than something like, say, a Formula car. But the brake pedal can be adjusted. You could add springs to the brake pedal to have a spring field, and you can even add a hydraulic system to the brake. Now, the hydraulic system still utilizes the rubber elastomers, but it also uses hydraulic fluid to have sort of a hybrid in between the two. And then on the throttle pedal, you can have something similar where you can adjust the tension of the throttle on the fly. And you can mount them in multiple ways. You can mount them on the floor, or you can invert them. And you could get them inverted straight out of the box, or you could purchase an inversion kit that Simagic sells directly. Next up is the Simagic Alpha wheelbase. Coming in at 15 Newton meters, it's right in between the Alpha Mini and the Alpha U. That's straight down the middle mark. You can click here for our review on that piece of kit. The Alpha coming in at $589 is very well priced, and at 15 Newton meters of torque, it's that perfect in the middle between, I'm kind of striving for more torque, and oh, this is more than plenty. I honestly don't need that much. But let's be honest, you could always use more torque in your sim racing wheelbase. So the Alpha is Simagic's answer to straight down the middle. It rivals that of the Moza R16, and I guess now the Fanatec Club Sport DD, as well as the Acetec Forte, the SimiCube 2 Sport, and other wheels within that 15 to 20 Newton meter range. It should definitely be on your list to go check out, especially if you are looking for that in the middle sort of wheelbase where it's not that less than 15 Newton meters of torque or more than 20. Budget is still in mind, but you still want some good torque. So again, go check out our review of the Simagic Alpha for more details. From our experience, it's pretty solid. Next up, I want to throw in the Simagic TB1 and the Q1S just because of its price point. It could be considered mid-range as well. There is no like sub $100 handbrake or sub $150 shifter within the Simagic ecosystem. If you're looking to do more like GT3 racing or say formula racing and you're on a budget, you could sacrifice the shifter and the handbrake for something cheaper, or honestly none at all. So the first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to the wheels is the Simagic GT Pro hub. Similar to the Neo X hub, however, it has a carbon fiber finish. It has a few more buttons, those being a little higher quality, as well as more joysticks and knobs. It also comes standard with 4 paddles, two for switching gears, and then 2 for your clutch. This is someone looking for, I guess, a higher quality in a sense for adding a custom wheel to your Simagic wheelbases, and could be a great option for, again, the drifter or the racer alike who wants that custom wheel. Now we move on to the actual steering wheels. First thing I want to talk about is the FXC or the FX Carbon. This is Simagic's middle ground formula wheel. So it's higher than the GT Neo and lower than the wheel we're going to talk about in the higher end. Again, it has the rotary dials, the joysticks, multiple buttons, and then 4 paddle shifters. It's honestly perfect for anyone looking to do formula racing. It's the perfect size for that. But if you like more the GT4 racing, GT3 racing, I would honestly think about the GT Neo as it's bigger in diameter, but the FXC has very good ergonomics of that, like a Formula 4 car or a Formula 3 car. Last thing in the middle tier is the GT1 steering wheel. You can get this in either D, C, or round shape, and in leather or Alcantara. It's the level up from the GTS wheel. The round wheel is also in bigger diameter, coming in at 330 millimeters, and is honestly a super well balanced steering wheel. Not only price wise, but also ergonomically. It's great for drifting. It's also great for racing. That 330 is that middle ground. It's not too big like a 350 or a 380 is. It's not too small. Kind of feel like the GTS is a little small. It being a 300 millimeter wheel, it's bigger than say like a T300 steering wheel or a G920 steering wheel. So the GT1 wheels definitely fulfill that. However, a little bit higher of a price. It is in that mid-range market. So that's all for you to consider. So that is the mid-range market of products. Next, we move to the higher end market. And this is our last tier of products. So of course we're going to start off pedals, and that being the Simagic P2000 pedal. So this is a hydraulic pedal set from Simagic, but it's very similar to the P1000s where it's a hybrid. It uses a spring and hydraulic fluid. So it's not a true hydraulic pedal. They also have a lot more aggressive faces, as you can see with the picture on screen. The faces look rough, but actually they are rather smooth, so you can still race in socks. They're not going to tear your socks up. And they come in a 2 or 3 pedal set, and they range in price from $609 to $689. Comes with a little bit different of a base plate as well. We'll pull up the P1000s once again. As you can see, it comes with its own heel plate that you can adjust for your well-being, and the P2000 does not. The P2000's throttle mechanism is very similar to that of the upgraded P1000 throttle mechanism, as you can see in this picture. And another great thing about the P2000s is you can interchange the load cell mechanism within the brake pedal. So if you want a lighter brake feel, you could go with a 100-kilogram load cell, or if you want a heavier, you could go with the 200 kilograms. So with that, that is the P2000 pedals and the Simagic's answer to a more higher end pedal set. Next up, wheelbase. We are talking about the Simagic Alpha U. Again, as I mentioned with the Alpha Mini, same encoder as every other wheelbase. However, this one is physically bigger. I forgot to mention, but the Alpha Mini, the Alpha and the Alpha U increase in physical size as they go up the range, and also in torque. This one of course having the highest threshold of 23 Newton meters of torque. From personal experience, it is extremely smooth. You feel a lot of feedback through the steering wheel, and is honestly a great piece of kit. Similar wheelbases include the Asetek Invicta, the Simicube 2 Pro, the Fanatec DD1 and DD2, the V&M wheelbase, and the Moser Racing R21. And the Alpha U comes in at a very competitive $809. Now, I say that because that is a very competitive price. That is a few $100 less than some of the other competitors. However, some issues that have come up with me testing the Alpha U within this higher end range of wheelbases, it's kind of numb, especially in the force feedback area. You don't get as much, I guess, feedback and detail as you do with some of these more expensive wheelbases. It's still a great piece of kit. However, if you have the change to spare, look into these other bases as well. I'm not telling you to just buy the Alpha U, do your own research. However, it is a great piece of kit. I personally use one right there, and it is fantastic. It's great for drifting, great for racing, doing both Assetto Corsa drifting and iRacing. And again, at that price tag of $809, it's honestly a pretty good pickup, especially if you're trying to get into that higher range of wheelbases and budget is in mind. Next up, I want to talk about the Simagic Q1. So this is the second shifter we're going to be talking about. It is the same internal mechanism as the Q1S. However, its external mechanism is a lot different. It's a bit bigger, and it's got an LED screen and 4 different buttons that you could program within the Simagic software. It's honestly an absolute beast. It looks very cool, and with buttons on it, I'm a man and I love buttons, so it is quite cool. The next shifter I want to talk about is the Simagic DS8X. This is their answer to a hybrid between the H pattern and sequential. There's a little knob on the side, you could turn it from H pattern to sequential. I've heard mixed things about the DS8X. It's really the only Simagic product that I've had a lot of mixed reviews on, I guess you could say. So the issue with the DS8X, they say they fixed it, but there is still this issue. Some of the DS8Xs, they have a spring, the mechanism that lets it be a sequential. Essentially what could happen is there could be too much tension on the spring, and in sequential, it could snap. And once it snaps, when you pull back in sequential, it just stays in gear. It doesn't recenter back to neutral. As a sequential does, you pull back, comes back to neutral, push forward, comes back to neutral. It stays locked backwards or forwards. So when the DS8X first came out, this was a big issue. However, since then, they said it's been resolved, and to be honest, it seems like it has been. Seems like newer DS8Xs, this problem isn't really happening, but it is still happening with some of the older models. It is unfortunate, and I want to be open and honest and warn everyone of this issue. However, if you are on the market for this shifter, overall, it is still reliable, and I still do recommend it. However, just be cautious if you're buying them, say, used from a secondhand buyer, or if you're buying older stock, just to be cautious. And if this problem does arise again, also be cautious. Stay on the lookout and stay vigilant. The next thing I want to talk about is the Simagic TBRS. The Simagic TBRS handbrake is the top of the line Simagic handbrake. And again, uses the elastomer hydraulic hybrid similar to the pedal set on the P1000, where you can get different feels of how stiff or how loose of a handbrake you want. I personally use this handbrake right here, and it has been phenomenal. You can get a lot of different ranges of motion within the handbrake, and it is extremely stout in construction with it being all aluminum. You can even mount a Simagic haptic reactor to the handbrake. And with that, I want to have a quick intermission and talk about some of the accessories that Simagic offers. Simagic offers a range of accessories from interchanging the load cell on the P2000s to a USB hub that you could plug into your wheelbase and route your shifters, pedals, and e-brake into. And even RGB heel plates. That's right, you can have an RGB heel plate on your P1000. There are tons of accessories, a lot of them not really important, such as, gloves and carpets, but ones I really want to hit on is the haptic reactors. So they have their HPR Neo, which is their budget haptic reactors. It's very similar to, say, the Active Pedal, where when you push into any of the pedals, whether it be the throttle, brake, or clutch, depending on where that haptic reactor is, it gives feedback to your feet. And then there's the Simagic HPR, or the haptic pedal reactor, which comes in red. The Neo's in black, the normal one's in red. This does the same thing, but a little bit more detail. And people have been raving about these. They're so good that people are making kits in order to put these onto different pedal sets not in the Simagic ecosystem. You know you're doing something good when people really want to use your product on products not within your ecosystem. So honestly, if there's any product for you to take really seriously in this video, it's these haptic reactors. Because frankly, they are a game changer and they are quite good. On all Simagic pedal sets and the TBRS handbrake, you can mount them straight from the factory onto those pieces of kit. The only thing you do need is their accessory power supply in order to power the haptic reactor, and then you can adjust it within SimPro Manager, which is Simagic software. Before we get to our last piece of kit, we'll of course talk about the software. The Simagic software is called SimPro Manager, and it is very, very simple. Simagic on their YouTube channel actually give videos explaining what each of their software settings do to the people, explaining what each adjustment does, what you should do, etc., etc. It's a simple download, and then you plug everything in. The software recognizes everything you plug in, and then you're good to play. And of course, for your wheelbase, you can make adjustments within the game, but you could also make adjustments within the software. Overall, my experience using SimPro, it's been really, really simple compared to others, and there's not a lot of bugs with it. It works all the time. So the last piece of kit before we end off this very long video is the Simagic FX Pro. The FX Pro is the top of the line holy grail steering wheel within the Simagic ecosystem. Again, similar to every single steering wheel except for the GT Neo, you can only use it within the Simagic ecosystem, but it is essentially a Formula One wheel from Simagic. It's got an LED screen on it where you can see all of your data, shift points, etc., etc. It comes with 6 paddles on the back, similar to some Formula One cars, and has a Formula wheel construction. It is the most expensive, coming in currently at $649, and is for those serious sim racers who love Formula racing and really want to get that edge and feel like Max Verstappen. So with that, that has been the Simagic Buyer's Guide for 2025. Of course, I didn't touch on every product, such as the accessories. As I previously mentioned, there are tons of Simagic accessories, all of them not really necessary, but just to go over some more of them, there are also desk mounts, different mounting brackets for haptics onto pedal sets, etc., etc. However, if I went over every single accessory, well, this video would be 3 hours long. I'll link my website and Simagic's website directly down below so you can look at all of the products that they sell. And if you made it this far in the video, I'm giving you a special code. If you use Simagic5 at checkout at boundlessracing.com, you get 5% off all Simagic hardware that you purchase from the site. And if we don't have something listed on the site that you want, feel free to give us an email at info@boundlessracing.com and we'll get you taken care of. So again, with that, if you're looking to get any Simagic products, make sure to go to boundlessracing.com for any products, bundles, and turnkeys using Simagic goods. If you do have any questions for any sorts of products and say we don't have something listed on the site, feel free to give us an email at info@boundlessracing.com. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, comment your thoughts down below on Simagic. And with that, thank you so much, take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.